Warren Buffett says you should have multiple streams of income. And one of the stream of income that not only provides you additional income while you may be working in a full-time job or in a business, it keeps on building wealth like nobody else can. To discuss how real estate investments can be one of the best sources of building wealth, I have with me my friend David Graham from Rapid Mortgage to talk about how existing investors can prosper and new investors can get into investing in real estate. And he will lay out all the pros and cons. So let's jump in and start talking, David.
Good morning, Bipin. How are you today?
Good
Happy New
morning.
Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Thank you. Thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure, and it's nice to start off the year the right way.
Absolutely. So my friend Warren Buffett, my other friend Warren
Your other
Buffett,
friend. He's a nice friend to have.
he has influenced me to start diversifying my portfolio. And he says, never put all your eggs in one basket. I said, okay, sounds good. Tell me more about it. And then he talks about how you can start. And so you being the expert in the mortgage arena, what do you, before we start, tell our audience about who is David and how you are authorized to talk about mortgage.
Well, I've been in it for 17 years. We are at Chester County. We have a branch in Chester County. We're pretty much all over the East Coast, Rapid Mortgage, and we specialize in residential real estate. So that means 1 to 4 units is considered residential as long as it's not zoned commercial. Okay. So that's where we help people either buy their primary home or their investment properties, which we're talking about today.
Investment properties can be a great stream of income. And we hear about so many different ways you can buy an investment property and different uses of investment property. One of the most famous investment hack is what you can do as buy a multi-unit property, live in one, rent out the other, and that could pay for your mortgage expenses. So you may be living there for free. So why don't you tell more about that?
Yeah, well, that is a great way to get into becoming an investor without even trying. I mean, like at that point, you need a place to live. So you get anywhere again to up to a 4-unit property. And then you also become a landlord to those other 3 properties. We helped somebody, very recently within the last few years. They put very little money down because when you're doing a primary purchase, you're able to put a lot less money down overall. So now you've done that with very little money out of your pocket. And now your mortgage is being paid for and then some. And several years later, now that person he's on to his next primary home and he's a complete investor of 4 units.
Right. And the beauty of this hack is you can get residential mortgage rates for this property where you would be living.
Definitely.
Which would be your primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have up to total of 4 units in that building. You would be renting them. However, you still get residential mortgage rates as if it was your primary home.
Yeah, so kind of the lower rates overall and literally as low as 3% down.
Right.
And so now once it's in your blood to start having these investment properties, it always seems like you want more and more and more because you see this level of income it can generate you.
And What are the current laws? That do the owner have to stay in that for a year or longer?
Yeah, typically it will depend on what program they went into,
Uh-huh.
but they would have to stay there for a certain amount of time. Now, this also happens, Bipin, even if it's not a 4-unit property, even single units, if it's only 1 unit, there's a lot of people that would rather hold that property and continue to rent it out. This could happen, some people several years later, now they become an instant investor just by doing that alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you live there for a year or whatever is the
Mm-hmm.
current law requires you to, and then go ahead and repeat that.
That's right. Yes, as long as you can qualify and go through the normal procedure.
E- everything that we are talking here, you need to talk to your own mortgage and CPA and an attorney, because everybody's situation is different. I'm a realtor, you are a mortgage professional, David. So we are talking, we know what we are talking about in our field. However, when it comes to taxation or law, you should consult with your own professional attorney or a CPA.
100%. Yeah, you can't do it any other way. You
Absolutely.
shouldn't. You shouldn't do
You
it any other
shouldn't.
way.
And
Yeah.
it, everybody's situation is different, and we are not trained or certified to be attorneys or tax experts. Okay, so we talked about one of the most popular investment option. You live in it and rent out the part of it, and then move and rinse and repeat to build a portfolio. Now, what about somebody who is working full time and wants to purchase an investment property? They they can still do it. However, their mortgage process would be slightly different, correct?
Yeah. So you're saying if they're working a normal job,
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, really, it would all be the same though, because you still have to go through the procedure of getting approved, and it will be based on that income. So that would actually be helpful if somebody has normal, solid income on top of the income they're making on their investments. Now, we do have some investors that have 10 to 20 units or more. They could live on that alone and get approved on that alone,
Right. Right.
So it kind of depends. I always say with mortgages is, you don't know until you actually have somebody look at everything that it takes to get approved. And that could be us or anybody that you talk to out there that you trust in the mortgage field. Let them tell you where you stand and what it looks like.
So even when people are looking to buy a home, we tell them that first thing you want to talk is with a realtor and your trusted advisor in mortgage field.
Yes.
Once they tell you what you can qualify for, then we can put together a plan to get you the best options for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. And what we also tell people is this: don't necessarily wait until you think a month later you want to buy. Even if
Right.
you think it's a year or two down the road, get organized now, because we might be able to tell you certain things to do that will strengthen you for when you are ready. We're not here just about the transaction tomorrow. We're thinking, as however long it takes you to be ready, we want to be there for you.
Right. And if you have recently made some purchases or had some inquiries against your credit, that all affects the credit score and your ability to borrow at the most favorable rates.
Yeah, and also think about this. There's a lot of self-employed borrowers out there. So we need to look and see what program can we get them under,
Absolutely.
depending on their tax returns and other things we're going to need to look at.
Right, right,
So
right.
it can become a little more complicated, but that's why we want to dissect it for them and make it as simple as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, we can tell you what not to do before
Yes.
you're planning to make that big purchase.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, if you have, there's a debt to income ratio and all those
Hmm.
good stuff that needs to be properly planned. And if they call you, you'll be able to tell them exactly, uh, give them a checklist of what they should and should not do.
Yeah, even credit reports alone, Bipin,
Yeah.
is sometimes is the most confusing thing in the world. You
Uh,
think you're doing something right, and it actually takes points off. So,
right,
so we
right,
want to always say, and the other thing is the mortgage credit report is different than any report you can pull anywhere else.
right.
So those are the types of things we look at early on, so we lead them in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Not to even mention how much money down do these things take, right? We've got to go over that so we know they're prepared financially.
And some people are under the impression that they need 20% down, or now there are many different programs. It
Hmm.
depends on what they can qualify for, and you have a portfolio of different products, so you will be able to guide them as to what is the best option for them. and
Yes.
and for this, it is better that they start working with us as a team, with a realtor, with a mortgage professional, so that we can best plan and give and make sure that their first investment property or their next happens with very successfully, and uh, hopefully becomes a very profitable venture for them.
Yeah, everything goes smoother when we work with you and our realtor partners because we become a team. When we're
Absolutely.
working with people we don't know, sometimes
Right,
we're not on the same page and then it does not go nearly as smoothly.
right. Now, one more question about investments. Say you buy a property. Now, if you don't have enough funds, there are a couple of different ways you can go about it. Say if you already have a home
Hmm.
and has equity in it,
Yes.
you could tap into that.
Yeah, home equity line of credit. That's a great way to do it, especially right now. More people have more equity build up in the last 2 years than maybe in the history of real estate.
Right. I remember 2008, there was housing bubble, which caused inflation, recession, and all that, and the housing market crashed
Yeah.
because people did not have too much equity at that time.
Hmm.
Today, as you rightly said, people have people's homes have appreciated significantly in the last 3 years, and in the last 10 years also, they have experienced substantial growth in their equity. So they have that untapped money sitting in, it's like money sitting in your savings account,
Yes.
not making
Yes.
any money for you. Go and tap it.
That's what Warren Buffett would say, right? Make it work for you. And
Exactly.
the investment world of real estate, I don't think there's a sure, bet, than real estate.
Right, right. And that's why he's my best other friend who keeps on guiding me about investments. And
Yeah.
so that money that is sitting in your uh, that's in equity, you can tap it to do more investments, to do your anything else that you want to do in your home, or for many different projects. But
Hmm.
that is definitely one way you can start.
Yeah, that's a very popular way. We, in fact, do not do HELOCs, they're called home equity
Right, right,
lines of
right.
credit. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
tell
yeah,
people to go to the local bank,
yeah.
get that all set up, because
Right,
it does bring up a good point, Bipin. When you're dealing with an investment property that's not your primary home, we can go as low as 15% down, but
right.
typically it's 20 to 25% down. And so those are the types of things we need to consider. There's also no gift money allowed, unlike gift money that you can get on a primary. So we tell people, if we get them early enough, we tell them to get whatever monies you have from your HELOC, from wherever. If it's coming from a different source, get it seasoned in the bank for 60 days or more, and then it won't matter. Right.
And let us go back to the scenario where we have an investor who has a property that has already been rented out and is bringing in cash flow, positive cash flow. They can then use that property as a collateral to get money and invest in the next project.
Exactly. Yes.
What are your regulations that how long does that property have to be in rental, in operation?
Well, I will tell you that being able to work with different investors, they all have different time periods, right? And sometimes literally every new year, every new day, we might get an investor that will do it right away. Sometimes it's a 6-month seasoning. It's hard to put a finger on how much, but I have certain investors that have multiple 10 to 20 properties. And even if they're only worth 150, maybe there's somewhere that's only worth 150, but they own it outright. Now we're doing cash out refis for them. And they're able to use that money to go on to the next one.
So you can do the cash out refi?
Yes. Yeah, because that's an actual refinance.
Right.
So sometimes when we look at everything, sometimes it makes sense to just do a regular refinance. And in other times HELOC. If you're a homeowner right now and you refinance in the last 2 years, your rate's probably around 3%. Obviously the rates are higher today. So you're better off getting a HELOC, leaving that first alone.
Yes,
absolutely. But so it's funny, the thing about investors too, they're not always sensitive about rates as much as a primary homeowner is, because they know that they're going to bring money in to cover that mortgage. And if they have multiples, now they have multiple sources of that. They're not as so rates to them are not as important as a primary homeowner.
Right, because as an investor, you are also able to take advantage of existing tax laws. Now, again, we are not tax advisors. However, as an investor myself and as a realtor who specializes in real estate investment, helping my clients get their first property or their next property, I have used many of those tax benefits. And you can take advantage of so many, all the expenses that can be deducted, all the qualified expenses that can be deducted, which you cannot do on your home because that's your primary residence. However, investment property being a business, you are able to take a lot of expenses and deductions and depreciation and all the good stuff. Again, we will leave that information to be determined by a qualified tax advisor or a CPA.
Yes. And even though maybe we can't speak on it specifically, we can definitely confirm that there's lots of benefits there.
Absolutely. I also have another question for you. You mentioned about the self-employed borrowers. You can, if they are not in the business for a long time, are there any limitations or restrictions?
For most banks, it's 2 years in business, right? So show 2 years of tax returns. But what we've been able to do at Rapid Mortgage is, if somebody shows a history in that field, we can maybe get away with 1 year as well.
Right.
And then the other thing, Bipin, is, again, there's so many people that we can go to with a file once we run it, investors, other banks. So if it's a special case, like maybe maybe their tax returns do not show a lot of income. We might be able to do a bank balance loan, where we're looking at that money coming into their bank balance. There's a few different things. So we don't really like to use the word no. We like to really try. And then we might have other sources away from us even that can help them out.
Right. And And being a real estate investor myself, I know that there are times when, like for example, this COVID, we were dealing with a lot of non-paying tenants,
Mm-hmm.
and also working with a qualified CPA and tax expert. We are able to take advantage of all the existing tax laws and take all the depreciation and all the benefits. So it may not show a large income. However, uh, from the records, you can see that money is coming in. However,
Yes.
it is being deducted or
Mm-hmm.
depreciation, and that does cause help with your amount of taxes that you are able to
Mm-hmm.
save.
Yeah, like all banks and underwriters, they just want to know they're safe here.
Right,
Like, and we
absolutely.
also don't want to put people in a bad position to
Right,
default,
right, right.
you know, because that's not good for anybody individually or as a society as a whole,
Right.
just like we went through in '08.
Oh, exactly. I was just going to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There, at that time, if you were breathing, if you could fog a mirror,
Yeah.
you got it.
It didn't take much, Yeah.
No,
Uh,
they were not looking for any particular credit score or credit
no.
worthiness, and that's how millions of people then went underwater in their mortgages.
Yeah. Now flip the other side here, and maybe we're going through a harder time right now overall in the economy. But right now, the mortgage people that have a home right now are the best qualified in the history of mortgages because of the stringency we've put on it, the laws in place.
Right,
You can't
right.
just fog a mirror anymore and buy a home.
No, no.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as you rightly said,
Hmm.
in the last 4, 5, 8 years, I
Yeah.
think uh, mortgage industry has really tightened the standards,
Hmm.
and and so the people who, as you said, who are homeowners for the last 5, 7 years, they have they are in the best position because their one thing, they have their homes have appreciated, and whether it was their home or a investment property have
Yes.
appreciated, and they have built sizable income. And there was a financial analyst report I read recently which said that homeowners have so much appreciation that if you are in the top wealth, top 1, 2%, 5% of the most richest people in the country, you are in real estate. You are either investor or a homeowner.
Yeah, so the foundation of wealth for generations as well, for your family, for retirement, for opportunities in life. It is definitely on the getting on the ground floor. And that's why renting, when you look at renting, if you can purchase and you're ready for it, it does make a lot of sense. And then when you can also own those investment properties, instead of renting, you become the person receiving the money for that. And you can
Ab-
play a very vital role in people's lives that way too. As a
Right,
landlord, if you're active in it, you can help these people out and
right.
prepare them because people come and go. With
Yeah,
your rentals, right? They come and
right,
go.
right, right,
You're not going to have them forever.
right, right. And it is very important that you look at your situation and talk to your mortgage professional and a realtor about where you are in your life, whether if you are going to be stationary in that area due to job or family or other situations, and you plan to stay in your home for 3, 4 years minimum, it makes sense to buy
Yeah.
rather than paying somebody else's mortgage.
Hmm.
I mean, I love my tenants, but they're still paying my mortgage.
That's right. And rents are not going down. So as much
they,
as homes are appreciating, so is rent.
they have in fact been rising 8 to 10%, and that is very, very, it does affect. Yeah, mortgage rates have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
So home buyers and investors may be sitting on the sideline. However, you can always refinance.
Yeah, that's a great point. What we did this past year as they were going up, 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 we're going to help those people out in the next year or two with any cost associated with refinances. And, we do feel at some point they will come down to a point that it would make sense to do that.
Absolutely. Um, Media has been scaring people, saying, "Oh, housing bubble is going to crash."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they're getting their information from. Maybe they're still reading 2007-8 playbook.
Yeah, crash is a big word. I think it maybe levels off a little bit, but there's still multiple offers on properties. There's
Absolutely.
still things fundamentally that don't usually go on in this business. And even if a home stays on the market 2 months now, people question, why is that?
Right,
But the
right.
normal is 4 to 6 months.
Well, yeah, I mean, last 2 years, people have been accustomed to here today, gone tomorrow. That's not happening anymore.
No.
And when I'm talking to home sellers or property investment property sellers, they say, "Oh, this my next door neighbor sold it for X amount of dollars." I asked them, "When was that?" If it was in 2020 and 2021, we are in a different world now. We are
Yeah.
totally, totally different.
But I will tell you, as much as it is a little different in some form, there is still the other stuff going on. There is still,
Absolutely.
if the home is priced right in the right area, you still have more people. There's still more demand
Oh,
than
absolutely.
inventory, and
Yes.
that's not going away.
Right. And in Chester County, we have businesses and we have a highly employed population and strong demand.
Yeah,
It is always demand versus availability.
that's
So
right. And some of that, Bipin, is the amount of homes that have been being built since the crash is at a record low, and the millennials are the largest generation ever. Okay. It'll be
absolutely.
even bigger than the baby boomers. And the baby boomers, some of them are still living in their family home
Yeah.
that is way too big even for their needs.
Right.
So you have a log jam right there, and that's not going away. But all of these to say that owning investment properties, now it's become even more of a benefit.
Right. And I was reading a U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It says that the average American household currently spends close to 20,000 or 33% of their annual income on housing related costs. So when you buy a house or a multifamily dwelling where you live in one unit and rent out the others to reduce or eliminate your housing cost, it makes it is a no-brainer.
Yes.
Also allows you to grow your wealth through
Hmm.
passive income.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation for people. So stop renting, think about investing, think about
Hmm.
buying,
Hmm.
and you are not only doing that, but you are increasing, you're building generational wealth.
Yeah, I've even heard of a trend recently, Bipin, where people are buying homes. Their first home is an investment property,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
not even living there.
right,
And then they're using that like 2-3 years later to buy their primary home.
right. Yeah, absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. Uh, because they understand that appreciation and overall gains are tremendous when you are renting it out. You are
Hmm.
able to take so many deductions, all the of the most eligible expenses,
Yeah.
and it is paying. The tenant is paying your mortgage and more expenses, so it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it truly is. And that's why we love what we do, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know, I always say, like, what we do in real estate, we don't sell anybody on the idea. We just guide them, and
Yeah.
then it's up to them. If they're ready for it, we're here to help them.
Right, and that's what we are. We are in the business of helping people realize their American dream of
That's
home
right.
ownership,
It
of
still is.
investment.
It still
Absolutely.
is the dream in
Yeah.
so many ways. Yep.
Now, we understand that mortgage rates have seen the biggest jump ever seen in 15, 20 plus years
Hmm.
that we are keeping a record of.
Maybe ever, to be honest with you,
Right,
maybe
right,
ever.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Hmm.
Now it is the inflation and mortgage, they go hand in hand.
Hmm.
Now we know that inflation has been on the decline for the last few months, so that has affected why the mortgage rates have gone a bit down, and hopefully they will continue to decline as inflation is on their way down also.
Most of our sources say that, it's inevitable that there will be a coming down. The only question marks is what is the timing of it and how low will they go? It's not going to be back in the COVID days. That wasn't reality, right? Like, to get under 3% on a regular basis, there has to be something really bad going on. So, I don't think it's going to be that. The problem with timing the market, though, is imagine, you have a rate today and you wait because you think they're going to go down in 2 years, but all they did was go up, up, up. Now you're in a worse position. So if you get it now, you can always refinance it. And if it goes up, you look good then too.
Right, absolutely. Home prices have somewhat stayed where they are. Uh, People ask me, "Oh, I'm gonna wait till it crashes,"
Yeah.
because they're watching news
Mm-hmm.
and and TV and radio and all the other media are making it sensational, saying, "Oh, it's gonna crash." What they fail to understand is, as you mentioned, we are in a totally different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
We are no People don't have any interest in moving out of a home where they have built so much equity. They,
And
they
have a
don't.
very low rate as
They, they,
well.
they
Yeah.
are not going to do that. Again, there will be some foreclosures, a very, very tiny percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, the inventory remains low and demand is high. There are so many home buyers looking to move out, young people who are living in their parents'
Mm-hmm.
homes and other first time buyers. They want to, demand is there and inventory is low.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way there can be prices will be crashing
No, I
anytime.
would not hold my breath on any type of prices coming down substantially. Maybe you don't have the $100,000 over asking price, but you're certainly not going to get lots of deals out there even now
Right, right,
because
right.
of that whole
Yeah,
demand and
yeah,
inventory. Yeah,
yeah,
supply and
absolutely.
demand.
Right. Uh, One more question is real estate investors. They find they are they are mostly buying in an LLC as an owner of the property. Do you work with LLC owners? Because I know some mortgage companies or some banks,
Mhm.
they don't.
Yeah, in the past we would pretty much say no, but now we do have some opportunities for that to happen. So once again, we would like to look at the LLC. And so we'll have our people look at it, our underwriters,
Yeah.
and we would make the judgment then. So I would say again is we would look at everything and then figure out what the options are.
So every case is
So yeah, it can be
different.
different. It can be different.
Yeah.
The other thing is a lot of investors we work with, they buy them individually. So as an individual, and then maybe they do form LLCs later on, or again, because it's kind of a complicated, that's an attorney thing, right? Where an attorney would specialize in that and go over the pros and cons and the different ways of doing it. So it does become a little complicated, but it can be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let us just summarize briefly what, all the golden nuggets that you shared with our viewers. Okay.
Oh, you want me to summarize?
Yeah.
Oh,
please.
okay. Well, I mean, we talked about, I think first of all, thank you for having me on today. Definitely honored to be the first one of 2023.
My pleasure.
It's going to be a great year.
Yes.
Last year had its, ups and downs, and that's what life is, it's just getting through it. So, I mean, I think in summary is real estate a sound investment? And I don't think even if a market is on the lower side, the answer is yes, it is a sound investment. It's a type of thing that it's not an overnight thing, unless you're going to flip. That's a whole other thing we didn't even talk about, right? Where you buy it and fix it up, sell it right away. But if you're going to hold it and you're going to get renters in there and you're going to have multiple properties, it is sources of income that are going to come in for you, and it's going to open up a great financial life. And as far as the market itself, I just think that we're still going to keep plodding along here. It's not going to be going down substantially. And with the demand, we are excited. We have so many people right now ready to start looking at homes. The spring market's right around the corner. So whether you're looking for a primary or an investment or both, as we mentioned, getting in there, becoming an instant investor, and to have them pay your mortgage, through that, it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I left anything out. Let me know. But.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Just want to remind people about that housing hack.
As far as getting in to multiple unit properties, in fact, we even spoke with a woman this week. She already is in that position. She has 2 units. She lives in one, the other one gets rent, and now she's actually looking at moving out to a different primary home. Now she'll have 2 rentals. And so, but the thing is, it allowed her to get that initial home a few years ago, right? Where she has somebody paying rent, she becomes an instant investor, and she was able to buy that home with very little money down, and maybe even getting a seller assist on the closing costs, because it was a primary home. Once you get into if it's a pure investment, you have the options become a little lower, more money down.
Right.
And so that could be fine for a lot of people, but for some people, it may really help them to get in there, and as a primary purchase.
And I would also like to add and tell people that it is okay to take baby steps in the beginning. If you want to get a duplex, live modestly in that first home.
Mm-hmm.
And while you are saving and while your tenant is paying your mortgage and other expenses, with the money that you'll be saving, it will prepare you to move on to a bigger, better options, whether for investment or whether for using it as a primary residence.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's 2 units, 4 units,
Yeah,
if you can do a commercial loan for 20 units. Yeah.
Right. And when I say begin modestly, I'm not saying live like Elon Musk. He still likes to sometimes live in one of the rooms at one of his factories or
Sure. Yeah. Maybe
and
even one of his cars, you know?
yeah, exactly. He
Hmm.
was sleep on couch on floor, and
Hmm.
when people ask him, why do you do that, he says, I don't want to be more comfortable than my employees. I want to show them that, hey, I can afford to live in a hotel or buy a luxury home, but I'm as committed to building my future and building this economy. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's passion, you know, between him and Warren Buffett
yeah,
and us, what we do, you and I,
right,
right?
right.
Passion about the business
Yeah,
because it's a major part of people's lives.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, David, I'm very, very happy that we were able to do this show today and provide our viewers with a lot of golden nuggets that they can hopefully use and take action and start buying your investment property, start building
Hmm.
generational wealth, because there is nothing that does it better than real estate.
That's
Stock
right.
market is another a great way to build wealth. However, I'm not an expert in stock market, and I would only talk about what I know. And real estate is what I do. Real estate investments, what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And I'm very, very happy that I took that first step in buying my first property, and that has allowed me to build a portfolio. A lot of credit goes to my wife. She has been saying,
Smart man.
she says, why don't we buy? I said, I don't know anything about investment. This was when we first began our journey as in investments. And I don't know anything. And people scare you. Hey, you may get a call in the middle of the night by a tenant because of the toilet is leaking or something.
Hmm.
I've been in this business for almost 20 years now, and I haven't got a single call.
That's pretty
Like,
amazing. You're lucky. Yeah.
well, I mean, some people may call at any time,
Hmm.
but you have to train your tenants on what to do when a thing like that happens.
Yeah, that's a value for you too, that doing what you do, you're also living it. You're not just reading about it,
Right.
talking about it,
Yeah.
you're living it.
Yeah. And David, one thing that we forgot to mention was,
Yes.
if you are a busy person, you can still own a real estate property as an investment. You don't have time or don't have expertise to maintain it or manage it, there are property management companies available.
Yeah, that's a
and
great way to go.
and I work with some of them. I also manage my own properties, so I have that experience. However, I have a team of uh, contractors, plumbers, electricians, and many other maintenance team people who I can trust to
Yeah.
go and get the job done. So if somebody tells you that it is a lot of work, believe it is a lot of work. However, it is rewarding
Yeah,
as
what's
well.
not a lot of work, right?
Right.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, anything, doing a 9 to 5 job is also a lot of work. It is also a
exactly.
lot of stress. However, choose your hard, choose your stress.
That's right. Good one. I like that. Yeah.
And I mean, there are property management companies, they charge you money. Of course, they are in the business to make money, but they are making money for you too. It is a win-win-win situation. So I would tell our viewers not to think twice about investments.
No, that would not be the reason not to,
Right,
what you
right,
just said there. It
right.
really wouldn't, because there's ways to cover that. And depending on what your goals are, if you're a very busy person, you get the people in place that will take care of it for you.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And take the first step. Talk to your trusted realtor and mortgage professional who
Hmm.
have knowledge and experience working in real estate investment. Not every mortgage professional, not every realtor can advise you on the steps you need to take in getting into investment. So definitely ask for somebody who has experience. And David, how can people reach out to you?
All right. So I see that you have my contact info on the bottom. So if everybody can see that, you have my cell phone, you have the email address, you have our website. We've got a team of people that are ready to help you and give the right consultation that is needed. But again, the first step is reaching out, and it's like going to the doctor. You want to know where your health is, you got to go in, and you got to, let's see it.
And the best number to reach is 484-643-3400.
Perfect. Yep, that would be the best number. Text, call, it doesn't matter. I always say I'm available 24/7, but that usually, it is by schedule only. So if
Right,
somebody
right,
gets
right,
off
right.
the night shift at 1 a.m., but we do also work the hours of real estate. We do nighttime and we do
Right,
weekends,
right, right,
because
right.
that's when I would say 80% of real estate happens, nights and
Absolutely, absolutely.
weekends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, the information, contact information is there. I hope people looking for help reach out to you. And my name is again Bipin Chandriani, realtor with Remax Ace Realty in Downingtown. My phone number is 484-347-1848. And again, the information is on the screen. So reach out to either one of us and we can help you get started, whether it is your investment property
Hmm.
first or the next, or whether you're looking for your primary home or a secondary home,
Yeah, and a
vacation
plug
home.
for you, Bipin. You're the man. You're great to work with, and also Remax Ace in Downingtown, a great firm that you're part of.
Absolutely. I'm very, very delighted to be part of this organization. And uh, we bring this spotlight show every Saturday at 10 o'clock. And 2023, I'm very happy that you were my first guest for this
Thank
live
you.
show.
I am too.
Next week, we have another great guest. This spotlight show was started in 2020 at the beginning of this pandemic because I prefer to do business with local small businesses, and I wanted to make sure that our community was aware of what is out there, their products, services, and then I was approached by some of the small community organizations and food bank, and so we have expanded that. We have also expanded to local government officials and school district officials. So we have Chester County board member, Chester County school board member coming on our show on January 21st at 10 o'clock. So tune in. On these shows, you get to ask our guests and me any questions, and we will be answering those questions on the show. If we don't have all the information, we will get back to you, but this is the chance you get to ask experts. And we like to bring these shows every Saturday, as I mentioned, at 10 o'clock. Uh, you can go to Facebook, where the show is live on Life is Good on Chester County community page. So connect with us, and as we bring more and more value, let us know if you have any other questions or if you have any suggestions on who should be our next guest. Thank you again for watching. We will see you next Saturday at 10. And thank you again, David, for sharing some golden nuggets with our audience
My
today.
pleasure. Happy New Year to everybody, and it's going to be a great year.
Absolutely. We all can make it great by working hard and
Hmm.
smart.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a great day.